Well, our old buddy Paul Finebaum has chimed in on the Dogs over the weekend, talking about where they are in the ranking. He had Georgia number two behind Ohio State, with Alabama at three, and then Clemson at four. I think people are trying to figure out who should be number four, and really they can't really settle on it. But that Clemson's played pretty well in back-to-back games gives them the excuse to use Clemson rather than USC or Oklahoma State because it's kind of more of a brand name right now. Paul said Georgia looked good, but they were playing perhaps the most listless team in America, Auburn, and he had to get his pound of flesh in there on the Tigers, who just can't score. That was one amazing play by an Auburn defender. Kirby called it. I can't remember if he called it inexcusable. I'm not sure, but this is now, this is Auburn is a team. This is the worst Stetson Bennett has played against Auburn in his three times, and Georgia wins the game by 32 points. Um, and the way that Georgia picked it up in the second half makes you wonder if they're kind of back the way they want to be offensively. Defensively, there's just not a lot to complain about right now. I would still have Georgia at number one myself. Hey, make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION today. The link is down below. If you order it today, you get a free Red Zone t-shirt, but you have to email me, dean@dogpost.com, with the size. And you need to get it to me quick. Today's a holiday for the mail folks, but I will get these out on Tuesday, so hurry. Um, but I think that, you know, I don't see how anyone can have Alabama right now in front of Georgia or Ohio State. I think if you want to say, like Paul says, that Ohio State's number one, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I mean, Ohio State's really played well. They've not played a schedule that Georgia's had, which is, I mean, including now a South Carolina team that's 4-2. I don't think anybody saw South Carolina beating Kentucky um, before the season, and certainly not the way that Georgia did them wrong. But um, when you we're at the halfway point of the season in terms of games, but the sort of traditional halfway point is the break before the Gators, which is coming up next week. And I'll have a lot more to say about where Georgia's at. I do think that headed into Jacksonville, you're going to certainly now, assuming there are no injuries in the Vanderbilt game or in the week leading up to it, you're going to have a different Georgia team um, than the one that we've seen lately. You're going to have the team that has A.D. Mitchell on offense. He has essentially missed the last three games. Um, I think that matters. I'm not sure. Number two, I expect Jalen Carter to be back. I was told, and I was skeptical. I reported this over on our message board over at dogpost.com. I was told that he might dress out and try to play, but that's what I was told. I was like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that he's going to play. But I do think that Jalen Carter will play against the Gators. That's my expectation. And then I think the other thing that has emerged is Georgia's two younger running backs, and Edwards is the same class as Milton in terms of recruiting. Robinson, they're missing Paul. Having Paul out there would help too, but Branson Robinson sort of exploded. We've seen what Edwards can do. Branson Robinson sort of, this was the first real work game that he got. I don't want to oversay that. That might be sort of a touch too skeptical of what he's done this season. But if you go back and look, I think that he's got the fewest carries of everybody. And after Saturday, I'm not sure that that's going to continue. I mean, I'll tell you this about these running backs, all of them, Milton, everybody. Man, they really run hard. Like they run hard. And now with Kendall, with this groin thing, you don't want that to linger. They're going to need all four of these running backs, period. If they want to make a run to the playoffs and to the national championship game and win it, they're going to need all of these running backs. And when you look at The one guy who's not run a bunch, it's been Branson Robinson. He's only got 26 carries. Edwards has 49. Kendall has 46, but he didn't play a lot of the Auburn game. And then Kenny's got 44. So they're splitting it up pretty well. The crazy thing is that, the most efficient backs are Kendall and Robinson. Um, but they all have at least 4.5 yards a carry. Now, that does not account for the receptions out of the backfield. And you can't ignore that Kenny is averaging almost 10 yards of reception, and he's getting most of the balls there be near the line of scrimmage. So Kenny's been dealing with an injury. Kendall's got a groin. And so now you're seeing Edwards and Robinson. They're going to have to play more. And that will get you healthy. This is not a hot take necessarily, but a lot of Kirby's job is going to be getting Georgia to Jacksonville healthy from here, from this game, because you want to have your best team ready for the last run of the season. And if you recall, the close of 21, they had a real rough stretch right now. It was the Auburn game, then it was Arkansas, Auburn, Kentucky. And those were the games that folks were concerned about. Those on the inside, I guess. Certainly the Arkansas game, where Georgia was hosting the number 8 team in the country with a new quarterback, and at noon. And Georgia's not so hot at noon sometimes in Athens. Sometimes. Then the game to Auburn. I mean, Auburn was a ranked team, Stetson's first road trip, and then the real challenging fight with Kentucky, another ranked team, top 11 team who was undefeated, watched by almost 7 million people on CBS, 6.39 million, excuse me, not 7. But those were back to back to back. That was tough. Georgia's about to get into that now. Okay. I don't know who's the better team right this second between Kentucky and the Gators, but Kentucky's really beat up. Their line is not playing well. Florida is not good. They're just not a good team. So you've got an opportunity here to take care of business against Vanderbilt. This team needs a week off. They need that. It's not 14 days, but it's like 10, where you can kind of catch your breath a little bit. And the TV situation with Vanderbilt, that they didn't have to play the game at noon because of homecoming. At least you're not playing at night. Now, I know a lot of people like night games, but it does give the kids a few more hours to just. That means they're not coming. You're not dealing with a Saturday night situation, okay? And it's certainly obviously not on the road, so that helps too. So you're building in a little bit more time before you get to the momentum of Jacksonville, and they got to get healthy. And I just, Georgia did look good. I mean, Paul said, "Hey, they looked good, but they were playing perhaps the most listless team in the country." I don't care. You got to play well. It doesn't matter who you're playing. And Georgia played well the whole game on defense for sure. Took a little bit of time, about a quarter, to get going on offense. I mean, yeah, you'd like to start hotter, but you just got to score a bunch of points. It really does not necessarily matter when you score them. I mean, Carson Beck played on Saturday. I don't know that he threw the ball at all, but if you want to judge of sort of where you're at with things, at what stage does the number 2 deep offense go out there? And you know they were out there plenty the other day, but this Georgia team, the way they're playing, I think those 3 things will matter in the next few weeks. Okay, the A.D. Mitchell's return, which could happen this week against Vanderbilt. Jalen Carter's return, which should happen before Florida, certainly before Tennessee. But then really, even without the first 2, if you can run for 200 yards, I'm not talking about running for 300 like they did against Auburn. That's just not realistic in this league. If you can run for 200 yards in the SEC, you're really running. And I think for Georgia, that particular thing, something they've had a tougher time doing um, lately, the whole game, that's something that could change the way this team can play moving forward. But I thought that, um, Auburn, I would certainly watch Matt Rule, who just got fired from the Carolina Panthers. He's a capable head coach. He makes a lot of sense. He knows what he's doing. Anyone that can take that dumpster fire that was Baylor and make them go to the Sugar Bowl, that's a legitimate coach. The Carolina Panthers are a bad organization with bad ownership and bad leadership. So that they are that's not that the Carolina Panthers aren't working is not a surprise. But I would watch Matt Rule to Auburn. Doesn't mean it will happen, but he would be a smart hire if I'm Auburn. But I think the Dogs are playing better, and we're going to see against Vanderbilt if they can continue moving forward. I'm sure we will hear about it if they don't.